everyone. My name is Charles Waskowitz. Welcome to the Town of Orange Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. Tonight's agenda for Tuesday, July 24th. I have the wrong agenda in front of me. First thing on the agenda is I'm going to like to introduce the commission members to my left. Start with Rick.
Rick Mangione.
Drew Gunning.
Jim Ewan.
Time out. It seems like we're having an audio difficulty for your viewers at home. I don't think you can hear me anyway, right? For those that you can read lips. Test. Testing audio, 1, 2, 3. Mr. Ron Davis. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. There seems to be an audio problem. Maybe we can take it from the top.
No, I don't have an audio. Go without it. Go without it? We can record it, right? Oh, we won't be live.
Okay.
Oh, you don't? Okay. All right.
All right. Nonetheless, tonight is Tuesday, July 24th, 7:33 for the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. The first item on the agenda, as I started to go around, and Drew, did we get to introduce you yet?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone else? Jim, Leslie, Katie, Scott Allen, and myself, Charles Waskowitz. The first item on the agenda after that is consideration of the June 26, 2007 minutes. To take a moment to review those. Any comments? I just had one, and I don't know if this is something I've overlooked in the past. There seems to be a number of things underlined, like dates and names. Is that something new or different or a reason? Is it, or just for easy to find it in there?
When we do a permit from the minutes, it's usually under our standard conditions of approval. It becomes a cut and paste. Those items are typically blank spaces in a permit.
Oh, gotcha. So you're filling in a space.
So we are filling in a space,
that's
and
fine.
it's for expediency within the administrative end of things.
Excellent. Thank you.
If we don't like it, I mean...
No, it caught me as I was reading it. Why is this underlined? Is there something special about that? And there isn't.
Oh, they're all special.
Oh, there are.
Chairman.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any changes from that night that I saw here. Others? Entertain a motion to approve the June 26 minutes.
Motion to approve.
Leslie, someone second that, please?
I'll second.
Second by Drew. Any discussion? No? Good. All those in favor of approval of the June 26 minutes as written, please say aye. Aye. Any abstain or abstain by Rick? Continuing, the second item was our July 10th, 2007 minutes. I had one on that. Is at the very first paragraph, it should end in a period. It just has a comma there. And in the second full paragraph that begins with Mr. Reedway explained, you note that it talks about the number of acres of wetlands, and it says 013. There ought to be a decimal point in there, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Yes. And that was all I had. Others?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
May I receive a second for Rick's motion to approve them as amended?
Second.
Drew seconds that. All those in favor, or any further discussion or changes? None? All those in favor of approving the minutes of July 10th as amended, please say aye. Any reject or against? None? And I'll abstain because I was absent that night. Thank you. Routine business is the third item, which is some correspondence. We have two important items. One is the College of Agricultural and Natural Resources publication from the University of Connecticut, and it is typically a lot of information about the store's agricultural experiment station and other matters. So if anyone wants to see that, this is kept on file at the Wetlands office, and anyone tonight, feel free to see it. The next item under that is some correspondence which is required of the Commission to produce an annual report for the period July 1, 2006 through June 30th, 2007. And it lists each of us as commission members and our names, and then reports to the town clerk and obviously into the whole town annual report, the activities that we have taken during the past year. That too will be kept on file, and I'll pass it around. If anyone would like to read it or get a copy from Katie, we can do so. Thanks very much. And I guess if anyone has any concerns about that, you could contact Katie or Scott. New applications for receipt and discussion. There are none tonight, unless something came up. Scott?
There is, I have something from Nowakowski, Obima, and Kane for one that came in for a submission yesterday, but it hasn't gotten to us for receipt yet. And I think, quite frankly, because it's for a septic repair, we have a letter from Nowakowski, Obima, and Kane. The septic repair is well within a 50-foot of a wetland. And our regulations state that they need to do geohydraulic testing in order for us to reduce the separating distance. And we've gotten a letter from NOC received today explaining why they have to put this septic system where it is. And again, we don't really have it for receipt, but we have it as a submission. And because we are not going to actually hear this application for discussion until August 28th,
Which is not the next meeting, but the one after.
And we do have an extra Tuesday this month because of next Tuesday being the 31st and not the 1st. I was wondering if the commission would accept the explanation that was sent over today as to the reason for this septic being as close as it is. And again, you're not at the mercy of, or the pleasure of having a site plan in front of you, but if I may quickly just kind of read through this. Town of Orange Inland Wetlands Commission. This letter is to explain the concept of the septic plan on 415 Pine Tree Drive. The lot consists of poorly drained soils which we believe are filled wetlands. Some of the existing septic system is in the wetland area. The property does not drain, but it drains slowly. Therefore, we are proposing to use a wick system. We would over-excavate the septic area 4 to 5 feet and place clean septic sand in original soils, and they're going down about 8 feet when they do this. This will direct the effluent vertically instead of horizontally towards the wetland. It should be noted that the bacteria and viruses die off exponentially when traveling through unsaturated septic sand. We have been working with the health department for the past year, and we feel that this is the best plan for all parties involved, including the wetlands department. Sincerely, Al Shepard, professional engineer, signed and sealed.
Is that dated today?
That is dated today.
Has it been in front of the town sanitarian, or did he comment?
Town sanitarian has commented in his department head sign off, which he has done, but again, we don't have it for receipt, so I did not bring that along because legally we really are not supposed to be discussing the application. This is more of correspondence from the engineering firm that is going to be part of this application. So he told the notes from the sanitarian were that it is the only place that this septic repair can go.
The sanitarian said it is the only?
The only place. And again, they have been working on this for a year. This application, actually, we actually were paid for this over a year ago, and it did not work out at that time, and they're just now coming back around again to submit, which they did yesterday. And finally, the sanitarian is satisfied that this is a workable plan, literally a year later.
Do you think they'll be back in front of us on August 28th with the plan, or
well, we're going to receive it at our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be, I believe, August 14th.
Right.
The idea, according to the engineer of design for the project, is that he really wants to get the septic system in the dry time to avoid tearing up any more of what potentially could be torn up if the weather starts to get too wet on us, and have this system work properly.
Commissioners? Rick?
I know I didn't see his details, but you said you're going to over excavate the 8 feet below.
It's a wick.
Or, I mean, since it's wetland, you think it's going to end up being like a dry well and suck in more from the other side of it?
From what I understand, that the soils are so poorly drained on either side of it that There's,
So it's not gonna seep in?
it shouldn't seep in.
Right.
If it does, it's going to be incredibly slow.
Right. Well, I would think to let them go ahead and do it, because that is true, this is the dry season. You don't want them to start
We're still,
raining.
okay,
Right.
well, what
I
I'm
mean-
getting at is, does this sound reasonably acceptable to, if this is not reasonably acceptable to the commission, if they need to do a much greater and in-depth hydraulic analysis of the soils that are there are no good, so they
Yeah.
need to bring it in. If this is acceptable to the commission, I will,
The existing site, there's really
it's an
nothing you
existing
do.
site.
Yeah,
I mean-
I'm satisfied from what I've heard in the past few minutes, is that as long as the town sanitarian indicates that there isn't a better place and it is an existing site, we can't just close down a household, so I would
Okay.
move ahead with it. Others, thoughts, please? Drew or Jim?
I agree
Leslie?
with you.
Thank you. Others?
Same,
Yeah,
I agree.
Good. Seems, Jim, any thoughts? Good. He's nodding his head in affirmative. So I think we ought to allow them to go ahead and we'll make it a chance to look at it in a couple meetings from now anyway.
So this will be
Yeah.
acceptable, fine. Thank you.
Thanks. Old business. Item number 4, Beach Lawn Terrace.
I believe
Is
the
there no one-
applicant for that parcel has not completed all of the gathering of information that was required of them by this commission at our last meeting.
Okay. I don't see anyone here from the applicant that I know of, no?
Well, I know last
I
meeting
was
you would
given a charge,
talk to the attorney, right?
and I think,
Yeah,
did
they'll-
everybody get that email in their
I did not
packets?
see an email now. Was it printed? I didn't get an email.
Well, I looked yesterday's email, I didn't look at
No,
today's.
I'm sorry, there should be a copy of an email from town council to me that should have gone into everyone's
No,
packet.
did not make it.
We are to hear it because the fact that it's not a zoning lot, I mean, we don't decide whether a lot is an approved building lot or not. It is not part of our jurisdiction. It is strictly a wetland issue with regard to the septic system, and he wants us to go ahead and hear it, and if it fails after that, because it's not a building lot.
Well, then
so
we
be it.
put it on the August 14th agenda, please.
It will be on there hopefully when they have the information that we requested.
Right, if it makes it right.
Right.
The next item under old business is Sunrise Hill Active Adult Community. I believe it's being called by 2 names, isn't it now? Fieldstone Village as well as Sunrise Hill? Please.
Yeah. Mr. Porter.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Allen, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. My name is Joe Porto, an attorney, practice law with the law firm of Perrette, Porto, Parisi, and Caldwell, and we maintain offices in Hamden. I am here this evening along with Robert Weway. The project is Fieldstone Village. It started as Sunrise Hill Estates, that's true. But as we've gotten a little further along, the owner's clients have renamed the project. It is now Fieldstone Village, or at least that part of it that represents the active adult community development.
Is Fieldstone Village an actual entity registered with the Secretary of State? Or is it Sunrise Hill Estates LLC?
I don't believe that we have filed any documents with the
Okay.
Secretary of State yet.
Thank you.
I don't believe so. What I do have this evening is a report from David Lord. I'd like to give to you, Mr. Allen, for the record.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the Commission recalls, we were here 2 weeks ago. We put on a presentation, for lack of a better word, and the Commission left us with some questions or some things to do. And I believe Mr. Wewey can respond, and we will certainly be here to answer any follow-up questions the Commission may have.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Robert Weway, professional engineer and principal with Coda Spodian Associates. Basically, we've got, I believe, 3 pieces of information to submit into the record. I believe they've been distributed out to the Commission members and with their packets from last week. The 3 items that were requested at the last meeting were a maintenance schedule or maintenance plan for the proposed storm scepters and the water quality structures. And the basic provisions for that are included in the Storm Scepter Owner's Manual dated April 2000, which was submitted into the record. In addition, a the biofiltration maintenance plan was requested, and Mr. Jeffrey Gordon, landscape architect with our firm, has prepared the two-page document that deals with the maintenance and upkeep of the biofiltration area. And then the third item that was open for discussion was getting a little bit more information with respect to the phasing plan for the project. And what we've done is we've revised sheet SP4, which is the master soil erosion and sediment control plan. And in the upper right-hand corner, what you'll see is that we've identified 4 phases for construction. And again, I think it's just important to note up on the top of that is that it's subject to variation as field conditions may dictate. So while this may not be all-inclusive or finite in the detail necessary, it does provide the building blocks of which a phasing plan can be built off of, and it hopefully will give the Commission a general idea of how we envision the project being undertaken. So with that, I believe those were the outstanding items that the Commission had requested. In addition, I did have an opportunity to review Mr. David Lord's comments, and I think they're pretty much in line with the way the plan was presented and with the items that he brings to light within his report also.
Robert, I wonder if you would just bear with me a bit. I was absent at the last meeting,
Sure.
and I did get a chance to watch it on the Orange Government Access Television. But I wanted to ask about a couple of things. I thought I saw on here that it talked about I think it was SP2 in the plan, of access to Route 34 in one of the footnotes. That's not true, is it?
No, there's no access being proposed as part of this development out to Route 34. There was some provisions made as part of our DOT encroachment permit on Route 121 and 34 that the existing access ways be basically closed off, abandoned, and closed into effect, in addition to some work being done up in the median area also to basically close that area off, which is almost opposite where the I guess the asphalt cut is now, and there's an opening through the median on Route 34.
I think that probably just answered my second question. That opening across the median, there looked like, at least on one of the plans, that there may have already been a design or an existing
Well, that's
entrance.
existing. There's if you drive up in that area now, and I believe it is accurately depicted on our drawings, there is an actual curb cut through that median, and it is identifiable on the drawing.
Is that gray hash marks or something?
That gray hatch mark is actually, it's bituminous/concrete apron, which was used for the farm access up to the site. And if you take a look at it, kind of went diagonally across Route 34, and which connected up with Mr. Hines' farm on the northerly side of Route 34 at that point.
Some fine print on SP3 you may need to refer to here. Under the sanitary sewer data, it talked about, I think it's manhole 30 and manhole 36. Are those the high points of, well, actually it looks like number 30 is, manhole 30. Is that the high point on the parcel right there?
I'm not quite sure what you're making reference to.
Over here in this large area with all this data, you see here we're talking about MH30 and then this 259. Is that the highest one?
Those charts that you're making reference to is basically a compilation of all the storm and sanitary structures and piping system that's associated
that you're going to be installing, right?
With the project, correct.
So I just wanted to make sure I understood it, because it seemed like I could follow it, how the contour of the installation so the water would flow correctly, and I just want to make sure I did.
Right, and what you have on the tables, there's a portion of the tables that's delegated towards the structures. The right-hand portion is delegated towards the pipe information. So in the structure area, you'll have the top of frame information, you'll have the inverts in and out of the structure. Pipe information will give you the length of the pipe, the slope of the pipe, and the size and material of the piping.
Got it. That's exactly what I wanted. I believe that was the last one I had that I just wanted to make sure I read it correctly. That's it for me. Thanks.
I got a question about, is it possible like to install the wall first in the back and do this swale before you do any of this other construction, just to grab the
Well,
water?
in order to get into a position to build a wall, you have to do the cut. That's going to
No, I understand that. You could
Yeah.
cut it, but I mean, I see you got building 10 units, you know,
Well, again, these may not be
no order.
items 1, 2, 3, 4,
Right.
5, 6, 7, 8 in that specific order. These are the items that we envision taking place as part of Phase 1.
Right, I understand you gotta cut down the lot. I would like to see the wall go up first, because I think that'll control a lot of the water coming into the property.
Yeah, and I don't see a problem with
gotta be
doing that. I
built
mean,
anyways.
once the cut is taken
Right.
out, there's really nothing that once the cut occurs up in that area, that would prevent the wall from going in, because and I think you're absolutely right, to get the grading established up in that area, to get the swale, or the uphill swale established, and
Well, you
basically to get that whole area stabilized is going to be
Right,
a
and have
benefit
the
to the
swale come
project.
all the way down first,
Right.
before you start.
On the eastern side of the property?
There's a retaining wall
Yeah.
up here.
Okay.
I don't know, the elevations are in the...
Yeah, it'd be along the southern, it's really the southern portion of the property.
Southern?
Yeah.
Just to get it up. Because I think there's a lot of groundwater coming in from here.
Bob, on that same vein, I realize that these are a little bit out of order, so to speak, but I think clearly that item number one, without doubt, and I certainly want to get that on the record for right now, is that the construction entrance should be first. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I see that's probably down around,
Yeah, I think that's in at item 3.
and we've got a lot of work to occur throughout that site.
Right, and again, I think probably what'll happen too is there's already an existing construction entrance out there that was being used for Sunrise Hill Drive or whatever the original road that was in there, so they'll probably be making some use of that until things get switched over. Again, I think what the intent is that once they started the work on the model units, because those are basically going to be the ones up near the intersection, at that point, that's where you really want to keep the construction entrances off of that area and get that delegated up towards the community building, up and through that section there. Again, if you wanted to get that in, I mean, we could certainly move that up to item 1. I mean, it's, again, I don't see a problem with that.
I mean, I can't see you having to, draw a whole new plan unless you think you're going to do one, but certainly, I think everybody needs to be on board with that. I think
Yeah.
it's without a doubt.
And again,
And if there
somebody-
is one there, it needs to be enhanced or scarified or whatever, that's
Right.
fine. But that still could be field condition number one, let's put it that way.
Sure.
Thank you. And while I'm there for a moment, just touching on the biofiltration biofiltration basin maintenance narrative, very last sentence, record keeping by use of the attached filtering practice inspection report shall be maintained. My question is, by whom?
Well, that would typically be done similar to the way that we have the detention basin maintenance. Whoever the responsible party ends up being, whether it's the association or the association hires a third party to do the inspection and maintenance, that would be ultimately how I would envision the person that would be responsible for keeping that, with records turned over to both the association, and if the Wetland Commission desired, they could be certainly submitted to them also.
But, so you're anticipating it's going to be a condo association?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioners, other thoughts on this? Any questions about volume or velocity?
Well, we did, Mr. Weaver and I did have a discussion a couple of weeks back about the plunge pools coming into the pond, and I had explained to him that they're problematic in as much as trying to maintain them because they get full of sand, grass, etc. and typically you need a machine to refurbish those, and was looking for something either in the form of a sediment forebay or even some type of easier way to maintain it, and the answer being that the flows are such coming through that almost single pipe for the pretty much the majority of the project, is that the plunge pool and anti-scour pad has to be the size and the magnitude that it is as proposed.
Why did you say single pipe?
Well, because you have one that comes around from the outside for some of the soil drainage that's picked up in the infiltrators that are being picked up, and Bob, I think there's might even be some roof drains that are going into that.
Yeah, there's basically coming into the detention basin. There's three primary inlets that come into the basin. So there are three pipe network systems that are associated with that.
One of them is existing with the
right one. So right. So all told, there would be with the one along the Wesley Point that's existing with some proposed modifications and upgrade of that piping system. But the vast majority of the interior pipe network will be coming down through that central corridor. And if you take a look, again, if you relate that back to the pipe chart, it's relatively large-sized pipe that's coming through there, which is going to be handling for the major storm events quite a bit of flow through there. So to maintain the structural integrity of that area, it's our opinion that the DOT-type plunge pools are going to be most effective in that particular location.
If I remember correctly, Rick, you had a concern, or at least some questions or thoughts about the, I don't want to say the integrity, but of the wall and its ability to hold the water?
The way the wall works, they're going to be, an engineer's going to design the wall. Right now, it's just drawn in there. They're going to come in with plans with an engineer stamp, correct?
Yeah, that's typically how it would happen. I mean, what we're showing on there is schematically what's going to be there for the grades. What would typically happen is once the project goes into construction mode, there's going to have to be some geotechnical evaluation and investigation of the property to determine, the soil conditions both underneath the wall and back of the wall. Groundwater levels would typically be established at that point and determined. And then once you have that base set of information, then the actual wall can be designed taking into consideration the number of factors, including the soils, the water, seismic loading, and some other items too.
Is the activity out there now, I guess they're removing topsoil, is that giving you any information helpful? I know there was some question as to the groundwater, and by that activity, have you found anything new?
No, I don't. Because most of the activity that they've done is mostly within the roadbed area. They really haven't gotten into doing any of the major cuts and fills.
There's a huge. It looks like a major construction site already. I mean, there is a.
Yeah, they've got a relatively large stockpile area. I guess it's down in this general
exactly
right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just off that construction entrance road.
Nothing revealing for you and the flows?
No, I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think any cuts have really taken place up in the areas where we're depicting the major cut areas of the site up and through that section.
I'm all set. Others? Jim?
Yeah, I have a question on how is this maintenance plan going to work? The record keeping, is it subject to some type of audit by the commission of the housing, or is it going to be, does Scott Allen go out and look at it and say, oh, by the way, you have to, how's that going to work?
Well, again, I think that's for this commission to make a determination of. Typically what we'll do is we'll come up with the guidance documents to turn over to the prospective association homeowner as the case may be. I think if this commission feels it's warranted and necessary, that's something that this commission can impose as a condition of the approval, that these inspection reports be submitted to the town on an annual basis. In other situations, and I mean, in just getting back to with respect to the detention basin, we typically include that on all the projects that we do, and they're there for the association of the person that's responsible for taking care of it. I don't believe that those reports have been submitted to Scott Allen, or unless he specifically asked for them. But again, I think if the commission feels it's warranted, that's something that they probably need to incorporate in any condition of approval.
Scott, did you have a thought? I see.
Well, we have done that in the past, Jay, where we have requested reports, sometimes up to 3 years. So, some for a year, some for, you can even bond for it, for crying out loud, if you needed to. But typically, there's still going to be some type of eyeball on it from myself to just see how things are going, and hopefully, if there are things that need to be addressed, they will. But I would certainly recommend and suggest that when the time comes, and of course the commission still has 35 days from the end of this meeting, unless they are requesting additional information in order to make a decision. But when that decision time comes, you could make that a condition of approval. That's
I would
within your
recommend
purview.
something this size, that we have something in place like that as part of the approval.
Yeah, I agree.
But Robert, what do you think your biggest challenge is for the stormwater installation and maintenance of it? What do you think from your perspective?
I don't see it as being a real challenge. It's pretty cut and dry from what I could see.
I guess the reason why I asked that is because of some of the unknowns about what those wet areas are and what they may produce for you.
Well, again, those, I think you're talking about two different elements there. If you're talking with regards to the detention basin, I think, that's very cut and dry. The only issue that I would foresee with the detention basin is the conversion from construction mode to final mode. Because during construction, portions of that basin will be utilized as sediment traps too, to try to accumulate some of the sediment. So typically when you do that conversion, and take the sediments out of there and then try to get your plantings in, that usually becomes the only area that can be a little tricky, again, depending upon the season and the rainfall that you get, so that you get the plant base established within that area. Now, with regards to the groundwater, which I think is what you're referring to.
Exactly.
A lot of that is going to really depend upon, the time of year that the construction takes place. When we did the original groundwater monitoring up there for the 30-lot subdivision in conjunction with the septic systems and the groundwater monitoring there were a couple of areas of the site that did exhibit some artesian characteristics where there was actually pressure pushing water up in the groundwater pipes, that the water elevation was actually above the adjacent ground. But again, that appears to be a seasonal feature of the site, because when you go back in the summertime, the holes are, for the most part, literally dry, in that area. But again, I mean, we are going to have some cuts that are down deeper than what our previous groundwater monitoring had. So I would anticipate that there is going to be some groundwater issues up there that are going to need to be dealt with.
Yeah, I think you've answered. I think you answered what I'm asking, and then I only had one final question that I wanted to make sure that I asked before this moved on, and that was, to the extent that there is a really wet season, there is a continuous flow through the system into the basin. Let's say it starts to fill up and then does have to go to its overflow. The only outlet it has is through the wetlands and then into a sewer under 34. Is that what would happen?
Well, no, we've got, and again, taking a look back at the phasing plan, there are going to be a multitude of sediment basins that are going to be scattered throughout the site, and again, that's going to be dependent upon where the construction activity is occurring on the site, and those are going to be dynamic. As one part or as one area of the site is developed, that sediment basin will no longer function. It'll be filled in, the sediments removed, another sediment basin will be constructed in another part of the site. So hopefully with those sediment basins, those will act as a pre-treatment, if you would, before the stormwater runoff ultimately reaches the detention basin in that,
what about
in that area.
post-construction, when you're all done, and to the extent that we get some storm that fills up the basin, it goes to that outlet, which goes to the wetlands?
Right.
And then doesn't it go under 34?
It goes underneath Route 34, that's correct,
so
yeah.
That was the only concern, not concern, but I just wanted to raise that point just to make sure I understood it correctly.
Right.
I'm fine with that, thanks. Others? Any requests? Now's our time to ask the applicant for anything else that we may need to consider this. Does anyone like to consider this more? Additional time? Ponder a motion tonight or on August 14th? Those are some of the questions we'll have to address. I think that's it for now, Robert, unless I'm misreading the commission. They're all done with their questions, and well, Scott's reaching for his microphone now.
No, I'm just having a little trouble. Item number 4 with David Lord's report. I think this, the proposed detention basin outlets to the subject wetland in the same manner and location as a previously approved and existing detention basin structure. I'm not quite 100% sure what he's trying to convey there.
There's 2 number 4s.
There's 2 number 4s.
Yeah, which number 4 do you want to refer to?
Well, see, sorry about that.
I don't have that. I'm not sure what
This
you're
was
looking
just
at.
submitted.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't seem to have.
But we have two number 4s. Let me go to the first number 4. The second number 4. How's that?
I think what he's referring to there is that with our detention basin expansion, it's basically in the same area as what was approved with Sunrise Hill Estates, and it's in the same general vicinity of what was approved with the Skyview Drive subdivision. The outlet is basically in the same location, and that the water is discharging the same location underneath Route 34. Again, without him being here, I can only assume what it's trying to read into what is item 4
So
says.
apparently, I'll take the liberty of saying that possibly after the 2 words subject wetland and in the same manner, that there should have been are going to be functioning in the same manner or are going to be about the way it was before. There appears to be 2 or 3 words there that might just be missing, and I don't know if it's going to skew the actual meaning of this report by not having. I feel it's almost like an incomplete sentence.
My guess is that we're going to probably have to have that report itself distributed to the commission members because we haven't had a chance to read it, and maybe we can
get
that
this
clarified by
revised
the 14th. At least that it's almost.
Can we get this revised?
Sure.
And resubmitted?
Sure.
If the commission is not, either way, one way or the other.
The disadvantage here that I could foresee is that we're only going to distribute that in time for this commission to see it on the 14th, and then if they have questions on the 14th, they may want additional information, which is what I'd like to avoid if we could.
I'm sure that this can get turned around and back to the commission and out to you all long before the 14th meeting.
That would be good.
Without any, I believe, any problem. If that's agreeable to you all.
Any other thoughts, commissioners, before the applicant? Rick?
No, the only, like I said, for the construction of a retaining wall first. I don't, just to see if there's a problem with your client to do that.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be, I mean.
There'll be no problem.
No, because I'm in construction, I know you guys want to do other stuff there, but I think the wall should be settled first, just to cut off all that water flowing downstream.
It's not something. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going through my plan one more time. I had marked it up with all these colors so I could find it easily, and I think I have everyone answered.
So apparently you're not colorblind.
No, I'm not.
Good for you.
So partially broken.
Did you want us to get them in the context of where we're at the zoning meeting? Do you think zoning's going to be in a position to take action after the next meeting? Which is the 7th?
Yeah.
Is it appropriate for us to have, in the minutes of this meeting, some of the conditions of approval that we specified tonight, or do we wait until the 14th?
They certainly can be recorded in the minutes, but they're not part of the motion until they're actually reread at that time. But
So-
just if you want to remember them, that's one way to record them, certainly. Certainly, Jim, if you want to reiterate some of them now, we can record them. But they will have to be reiterated during the
Right.
time
No,
of
I
a motion,
understand that,
yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We are scheduled to be back before Planning and Zoning on the 7th of August. We've presented a rather lengthy application. We had several applications before them. In the off chance that the Planning and Zoning Commission is prepared to rule favorably, is there any consideration that can be given to this commission calling a motion to the table tonight, or is it your preference to wait until your next regularly scheduled meeting, which I believe is on the 14th?
The 14th. The only reason that I would want to put it off is to give some of the absent commission members a chance to see and allow me and everyone here tonight the documents you submitted. I haven't even had a chance to read some of what was submitted.
Yeah, well, and I understand that, and I apologize for that. It came into our offices today, so,
Yeah.
and I understand that.
Yeah, that's the only reason why, unless, I'll be willing to talk to the commissioners. Would you like to, if anyone's willing to make a motion tonight to try to speed this up, I'd prefer you not, but that's entirely up to you to make it or not. I don't think so. I think we're going to have to wait till the 14th at the earliest.
Yeah, not a lot of support for that.
Yeah, well, we tried.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Other thoughts? This is your last chance for now for asking anything tonight. No? Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Okay, thank you. The next item on tonight's agenda is listed as the legal posting notice. That's revisiting us. Are we doing that tonight? I do have it, but Scott's looking surprised. There
It's
it is.
on the agenda, so I'm assuming we are doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we
Yes,
are, okay.
I think we
This,
tabled
that
this
was,
many times.
we did table it, and this was to get the definitions needed, and I believe they're here, I read them tonight, changing some of the fees, and I don't remember them exactly, but what I read tonight read for tonight did not surprise me. If anyone wants to take a moment to find their piece of paper that talks about our regulations and the guidelines, and it starts off at the top as definitions, that's where we are tonight. Rick?
In the back, item number 10,
Yes.
the over 5,000 square feet. Was that where we had the problem where the fee came out too high? Was that reduced?
That was where it was regulated activity, which meant anything within that, at the time, 40-foot review area, or the 100-foot review area, we
Right.
have
So this is
modified
direct,
that to
yeah.
direct wetland
Okay,
activity.
that's what I was, right, okay.
To clarify or reduce $99,000
Right.
application fees.
Right, that's what it was, it went to direct instead of regulated?
So-
Right,
Yes.
okay.
Over 5,000 direct wetland activity is a significant amount of activity that we'd be looking at, and the $5 per foot is something to shake everybody up, I suppose, meaning to get everyone's attention. Do you need a motion on this so that you can get them up to the state?
Actually, this needs to
Or-
be taken to the Board of Selectmen
Because of the fees.
because
Yeah,
of the fees.
that's right.
And there are several new fees in there. If you look under item 8,
Mhm.
we have added, which we had discussed
Rain gardens.
prior, rain gardens with retention, detention galleys of $200, watercourse crossing $200 plus the wetland activity fee, meaning direct wetland activity
Mhm.
impacts. Biofiltration system with no other activity, meaning no detention galleries or anything like that, is $175. We're still going to leave the stormwater discharge to a wetland acre, to a wetland area, $200 per acre of impervious surface, including roofs at 1 acre threshold. And then stormwater detention ponds, including below-grade infiltration units, which is also a new entity at $250. And all this basically is to just cover all the administrative costs and the inspections that are associated with these units. And then we go to number 9, where we have 2 new items: residential single-family roof footing infiltrator units for new construction, footing infiltrators $45, and single-family rain gardens with no wetland activity or galleries, no charge. We really want to see people go green with their stormwater management in their front yards or backyards, and incorporate their downspouts that currently might just discharge out against their lawns, to certainly look at using that water to create some rain gardens. The modification extension of a previous approval that has remained at the $65.
So Scott, this means that any activity in 100-foot upland review that is equivalent to or equal to this square footage, that would be the charge?
On item 10?
Yeah.
No. No. That was the way we had it, and it became an extremely onerous amount for...
No, I'm saying that the fee, for example, if it's 500 feet or less square feet, it would be $50.
Right. If you're disturbing 0 to 500 square feet of actual wetland, not the upland review area.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the way it was, and it got very convoluted and
Okay.
became extremely onerous, not only to calculate the fee, but they became chagunda.
So in their application, they'd clearly designate out what your area was, so you would know.
Yes. Of actual wetland
Yeah.
impacts, which we asked almost everybody to avoid. I mean, quite frankly, it would be very nice if we never have to collect any of these fees in item number 10. That means that people are respecting the wetland, and they are staying within the upland review area or further. Math amendments remains the same, number 11 at $275, and to the best of my knowledge, it's only been done once, and somebody else picked up the tab for that, or the cost for that. Sorry for the slang. And then I put the one other note on there, and this was kind of came about as a result of previous large applications that we have had public hearings on, where an application gets so modified or revised that it becomes too late for public comment or review, you know, for the statutory time period has run out. Should it be considered at somewhere along the way that the application becomes moot and a new one needs to be resubmitted? I know during, I believe, possibly maybe the first Ravenswood, and quite frankly, I believe the Stu Leonard's application, they changed so many times that many people felt that the changes were so significant that it constituted basically a new application. And if I recall, Chairman O'Brien, in his infinite wisdom, former chairman of the commission, I should say, and I believe one of the councils representing the applicants at the time stated that this is part of the process and we typically would get all these changes to come in. But given that, if they do get here at the 11th hour, it's really not fair to commissioners or to the public, if in fact there is, even if there isn't a public hearing. So that's something else that is not part of the fee schedule, so that would not have to go to the Board of Selectmen, but certainly everything else here you can adopt if you so desire, and maybe want to revisit whether that is something you want to add to the regulations on the next go-around or even this time around.
I would say, for ending with item number 11, that be the end of our changes for the fee schedule and so forth. And then when you begin with the word commissioners, that is something that we ought to take up and get the correct language necessary so that we can ask for a new application when appropriate. And I don't know if you want to try to write that or get that to Vincent Marino.
I believe probably it would be a joint effort to some degree.
Yeah.
But clearly, the idea here, to me clearly, the idea here is that your feedback first before I went any
Right.
farther with that, and if the
I'll
commission
go
has
around.
any objections.
I would like it to do it. I've experienced that before. Others, do you have any thoughts? I'm seeing nods in the affirmative all the way around, so I think we ought to try to have that drafted up for the next meeting or two.
Okay.
Thank you. Just looking at this, I compared the definitions and the fee schedule for our regulations that we have now with what is handed out and that we're reviewing. It looks like the item number 9 is what's being added. So if you want to just go home and look at your existing regulations versus what's proposed tonight. And then, of course, fees have changed throughout this, and I see only one item that I'm not sure it needs to be changed, but I'll go back to it. Other activity or uses, item number 8, B, water course crossing, $200 plus wetland activity fee. Do you want to insert the word direct there? Because that's the way you have it listed on item 10. So it would be directly corresponded to that.
Yes, very good.
Just add the word direct there, and then you're consistent throughout the whole document. Scott, good job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Others, comments? No?
Need a motion to go to selectmen or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Make a motion for the following,
Amendments to our regulations?
yeah, go to first selectman's office for approval.
Get a second?
Second.
Leslie, second that? You go to the first selectman, get it on the agenda, and then have it approved by the whole board of selectmen, I presume. Yes, thank you. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Abstain? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Scott. That was very helpful.
You're welcome.
New business. Number 5 tonight, executive session. There is some litigation that's going on that Scott, it looks like you're reaching for the microphone before I finish.
I would request, given that there is a rather large showing in the audience this evening for item number 6, which is the enforcement officer's report, the Whipplewog flooding remediation. I suspect, judging by some of the very familiar faces that I see here, I'm sorry, the gentleman with the tie, I'm not sure who he is, but somebody can help me out with that.
Okay, I agree.
If we could get a motion to go out
Make
of
a
order,
motion
please.
to
knew where he was
change
going.
5 with 6.
We have a
from,
motion to
new
change the
business to
agenda.
Enforcement officer report.
Go out of the post.
Anyone want to second that?
Second.
In
I'll
essence,
second.
we're flipping, thank you very much. We're going to flip 5 and 6 so that we can have the enforcement officer's report first. All those in favor? Aye.
Jay.
Against? None. Abstain? None. Unanimous. Go ahead. Enforcement officer's report. Scott.
Okay, now, item number 1 is 510 Wheelers Farms Road. As you all know, there was a lot of concern about the grading that was associated with that pool. I just want to tell you that the pool did go in last week. I've never quite seen it.
With a retaining wall?
Without a retaining wall,
retaining wall.
I think the owners of the pool are still trying to figure out how they're going to get into this pool. Because,
the
I mean,
deck?
it's like well, the deck isn't built, but, I mean, like I said, there was a lot of questions about that and a lot of concern. They literally just plopped this thing with straight vertical slopes. No grading out and almost no way to walk around the pool. So I think they've got a lot of work ahead of them. But I just want to let you know that
They did it.
they got it in, and no retaining walls were required at this time, depending upon what the homeowner decides to ultimately do in the end.
Is it filled with water?
It is filled with water.
Well, now the test comes by that weight.
And I just had to pass that on to you all because of the concerns that were raised. End of that. Now, this really, item number 2 here is the Whipplewog flooding remediation. All of you should hopefully received in your packets 2 pieces of paper. Very good. With a FEMA map, FEMA FIR map, flood insurance rate map, and also a topo map of the conservation area off of Mapledale Road. And it's fairly self-explanatory if you have that in front of you. The Whipplewog River, if you see it there, I've written on the FEMA map here, diverted flow. Or actually, I take that back. I did not write that on there. Somebody else wrote that on there. But that is where there, if anybody's familiar with the Whipplewog Conservation Area, the Whipplewog comes through there and does a 90-degree bend. There is a bench right close to the water course down there, and just west of that is the footbridge that crosses the Whipplewog. So just to give yourselves some sort of orientation as to where you are if you're somewhat familiar with the area. Well, at that bench is where the April 15th nor'easter, the Whipplewog, crested its banks and went straight in the path that you see there, diverted flow right to Surrey Drive. So the folks on the north side of Surrey Drive took a tremendous flooding from the north from the Whipplewog, and the people on the south side of Surrey Drive, the Racebrook, decided to just come right back where it used to flow prior to the subdivision and literally pushed the sand right up out of the catch basins as it went right back up the pipe that was supposed to drain it. So if you go to the topo map, which is the next one, you'll see where there is a berm proposed. You see it's a very large flat area. Visuals. You got it? All right, you're on top of things, Dennis. Thank you. There's a large flat area in between two hillsides, both of them well, that berm is well in excess of our upland review area, both from the wetland to its south, which is the former Cowell property, and is also has a water elevation, as you see, at certain times of the year, and also well to the south of the actual water course itself. And the plan is to construct a berm across that area so that if, in the event that the Whipplewog does decide to cross its banks again, that this berm would stop the water from heading down into Surrey Drive, and basically you can, there's a swale there that'll send that water back towards the river again. Is it really under our purview and jurisdiction? To some degree, probably. We always have statutory authority to regulate anything that is going to occur on any water course, even 15 miles downstream if we feel that there's going to be an impact. But I bring this to you tonight because obviously you can tell by the amount of people in the audience here that they are looking for some relief, and clearly this seems like a reasonable, feasible, and I think extremely doable project that could very well be done, I believe, actually by town staff, so that it is not going to be at a tremendous expense. It's not going to do a whole heck of a lot for the folks on the south side of Surrey Drive. That's another matter entirely, but certainly it will do a tremendous amount to help people on the north side of Surrey Drive.
Scott, just the artist rendition where it says berm, it's sort of shaped narrow at either end. Is that just
where it's going to fade? I'm the artist.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily that shape.
It kind of looks like a fish.
It
yes.
does.
But the idea is it will be wider at the bottom, and then
Yeah.
I could have contoured that thing up so that it became tighter and tighter and tighter.
What's the elevation over to the right-hand side? Those contour lines. I don't see a.
Yeah, there's 110 on this side.
Yeah, that one's easy. Well, how about over here?
This one is 100.
96 or something? Oh, it's going up. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. Yeah, certainly it's in the hundreds. Okay.
That's your 100, 102, 104. That, okay, when you're saying the right-hand side, the easterly side.
Easterly side, yeah.
That side, the berm is, as you can see, it's a lot, the existing topos there are much flatter as opposed to the western side.
And one final thought on it is who owns that property, just to be clear?
The town of Orange.
There we go. So it's within the realm of the town to deal with it.
They're going to be bringing in fill?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
and they could get in there with no problem?
There is.
I see the first selectman here will probably have some knowledge on this, and I'd probably divert from that, but I would ask him to address those two questions. Jim, please come up.
Thanks.
Oh, is that the guy in the tie?
That's the guy in the tie.
Thank you, Van Gogh over here in his map, you know.
Do you need either one of these, Jim?
Nope,
No,
nope,
okay.
I know it well. If you look at that topo map there, that has the berm drawn on it that Scott did, Scott, Ed Tucker, and I went down and walked the conservation area, and as you walk down the path towards you're going to end up down at the brook where the bench is wide enough. We'll build this with the F-350, F-450 trucks. We won't take the bigger dump trucks in there. There's a minimal impact on brush and tree trimming back. On the path, it's just a little bit of trimming. Where the berm is going to go is old hemlock forest, and there's several in there that are broken off on the tops that will probably actually incorporate into the berm to help hold the soil initially till some vegetation grows over it. The Conservation Commission was supposed to go for a walk down there last night, but due to the weather, they canceled out. And we're going next week. I will get Scott the date. Any of you who wish to join us on that walk, you're welcome to join us. If it's a quorum, Charles will just, have to call a special meeting there. As you walk down the hill, when you get down to where we're going to build this berm, right behind you, there's a stone wall just at the edge of this flattened area. The berm will run approximately from that stone wall straight west. There's a very high ledge hill on the far side. So we want to build this berm between those two ledge hills. And what it'll do by putting it there, originally when I went and looked at this, I thought we were going to fill right along the brook where it has eroded out and where the water jumped the bank. And in more talking with Scott, he came up with this because what it'll do will contain the water in that area, and then it'll give storage for it before it finds its way back to the brook. The berm will be higher than any elevation running along by the brook, so it will have to flow west, but on the side of the berm it won't flow through. When I walked this property one night by myself looking at this problem a few weeks ago, you can walk through this hemlock forest there and you'll see all the rack up against all of the tree trunks and any branches or broken trees that caught all the material. So I followed the water path right straight through the town area into Marcia Oliver's property adjoins it, and right where it went through into Surrey Drive. This is probably the second thing. We increased the size of one drain pipe. This is next, is to do this. I'll be before you again after we do this project, because the Racebrook is also a project down at the end, beyond the end of Surrey Drive, thank you, where the Racebrook meets the Weppawag, kind of in the conservation area property also. It has all silted in and closed in, and there's a lot of growth coming out of that silted material and all, which is the reason we're having problems with the Racebrook side as well as the Weppawag side. The Weppawag side seems to jump if we get 4 or more inches of water in a very short period of time. This needs to be done. There are 2 engineering studies that have been done on this. The one from, what was that, 89 or 90 that's on my desk?
95.
95.
95 or 96.
Okay, so there was an engineering study done in 95, 96 that Dr. Tucker brought to me, which I think this map actually came out of that. One of those did, that one.
The FEMA.
Yeah, the FEMA one came out of that. And nothing was done. And now we've had a couple bad rains again, and that whole neighborhood has been under serious water problems again, and it's just not fair when it's a correctable problem. Right. And so this is the next step that I'm taking, is to build this berm for the Weppawag, and I'll be before you again for the Racebrook. But they all affect different people down there, but it affects a whole neighborhood. And so that's why I'm before you. It's way out of the 100-foot area from the brook, and like I said, I'll get Scott to let you know when we're going down there next week with Conservation.
July 31st, Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Okay, you already found out. Very good. Any of you that want to join us, be over there in the parking lot on Mapledale Road, and we welcome you. I know there's some other people here from Surrey Drive also.
Thank you, Jim. Any
questions?
question, I was going to just ask, anyone have any questions or comments? Type of fill that Rick asked about how he's getting down there, anything else?
If you look at the contour map,
Yep.
the bench is right in that swale.
The bench would be,
The bench is about, yeah, it's probably right about over here somewhere, sitting looking down the brook, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No questions? Thank you, Jim, very much. I think that's it. Does anyone have any concerns over this or comments?
Scott,
Rick?
did you go ask what type of soil you could put on this, just so,
We're gonna,
well, I mean, I don't know if Scott knows it. Sorry, I thought it was,
I didn't answer that one, I guess.
you just don't want the water to hit it and it's just gonna
no, we're gonna,
come
we-
apart.
we have available to us, Rick, we have some shot rock, chewed out stone and ledge material. We have a large pile of that available to us. And then down, we've been stockpiling some material down at High Plains. Charles and I talked about it earlier tonight. Sand and stone and dirt material that'll also be with it. And then we'll probably hydroseed it or something like this to try to get some green growth on it to hold it.
Okay. I just don't want the water to hit it and
And
use
chew it
poor
up.
soil, it's just gonna erode again.
Yeah, no, and that's also where we're gonna use some of these broken hemlock trees. We're gonna bank them into it also until it, bites in and takes hold. The logs up against it will also prevent it from being washed
Yeah,
out.
those storms have been so fierce that we saw down in, no, it wasn't Racebrook, but down off by next to the post office. You saw the damage done down there, and you
It
see how they had to
washed out
use
that with
yeah,
big stone.
stone. So you can understand why Rick would ask that.
Oh, yeah.
Jim, have we determined what the approximate height of this is going to be?
Not yet. I have an engineer who's gonna shoot some lines for me. And that lowest point, it could be as much as 4 to 4.5 feet because the ground goes down and then back up. So in that deepest area where the water flowed the most, and you'll see it if you come for the walk, would be the highest point of the berm because the ground goes down. That could be a 4-foot berm in the center. It could go from basically 0 to 4 and back to a 0 again.
So whoever's going to be looking at this is going to make the determination as to how wide the bottom of the base has to be to accomplish the height that we need in order to give it the structural integrity.
I'm hoping Mr. Heiser comes home from Block Island. I'm going to have him take a
There
look
you
at
go.
it for me. If not, I have a couple other
Okay.
people that can do it.
Thank you again, Jim. Thanks very much. That's needed. Around the table, commissioners, any thoughts, questions? No?
Need a motion for this or not?
No, not at all.
Anybody else want to speak? I don't know, Joe.
Actually, we can't well, we could in some respect, I suppose, because this is not an application.
Right.
We'd have to be careful because if it was a public hearing, we never called it to order, so this is not a public hearing. I suppose we could if you wanted to.
Express their concern.
Any commission, anybody object to that? If, I'll be glad to entertain from the public. If you just come up for a moment or two and not chew too much time, thank you. Please come forward. State your name at the podium, please. Dr. Messina, good to see you.
Good to see you. How was your soccer game, Charles?
Soccer game was great. It was tied game,
I
1-1.
thought you were supposed to play with the feet, not the arms.
That's enough of your time. Next.
Okay. I want to, all joking set aside, I want to thank everyone for allowing us to come here to this meeting and to give our ideas. We appreciate you moving on this as quickly as possible. I've been living in the area since 1982, and we haven't had any resolution whatsoever. We've had engineers come, we've had other individuals come down and look at the flooding problem, and I think this is the furthest we've actually gotten. So please move rapidly, get the WETLAND situation taken care of, and then, of course, don't forget us on the southern side of Surrey Drive with the Racebrook. Two big problems, Bill Murphy's house, similar to what you have at the WETLAND, where the bank's been washed away, and he gets constant flooding. From that area. He's got a mark from 1982, is it, Bill? From when he had about 6 or 7 feet of water.
Jeez.
And he leaves a mark from one of his pieces of furniture that actually floated up and hit the ceiling. It's a memento to that flood. So I've had flooding also in my home. That's one problem. The second problem, of course, is as our first selectman had mentioned, as you continue walking down Racebrook, there is an island where back in 96, a number of individuals from Surrey Drive went in there and we cleared that out, but it has resilted. And it looks like a dump truck actually came in there and you can't even see where water would pass through. So you do have an exit point around that island where on the right side of the island water can pass, but it's only about maybe 8 feet wide in most places. The wider side now has been completely filled in. So any help would be really appreciated, and moving it before we get our next tremendous rainstorm. I have a neighbor that could not come here this evening, and would I be able to read this letter?
Yep, please.
Okay, this is very short, but to whom it may concern, I have lived on Surrey Drive for 41 years. As the years have gone by, I have witnessed incredible hardships imposed on my neighbors due to flooding problems in their yards and homes. While I cannot be here in person tonight due to family illness, I'm urging you through this letter to do whatever is necessary to alleviate my neighbors' problems with the water situation. I am going to follow what happens here closely, as I want to know once and for all if the elected officials of this town are going to be responsive and caring towards its residents. I vote, my friends vote, my neighbors vote, and we're going to take strong note of how this gets resolved. Sincerely, Nancy C. Mahan, 176 Surrey Drive.
Thank you.
I'm sure. Thank you
Thanks
very much for your time,
Dr.
ladies and
Messina.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. That's it? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have anything else from the enforcement report?
I do not.
Do not. Okay, now we go on to item number 5, which was changed to number 6. New business, and that's the executive session on the litigation. Thank you, people. Thanks for coming out.
Do you want to,
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
to
we
motion
have to
to
make
go
a
out.
motion,
Thank you
but-
very much, Katie. We have to have a motion to go to executive session and then come back.
Before we do, oh,
Did you have some other new business? We'll
there-
tend to
there
Jim's
was
real
part-
quick here.
There was something in our packet that I didn't understand what it was for. It's called Storm Scepter's owner manual.
that is
Oh,
from
right, yeah.
Fieldstone Village. That was a
Oh.
request for the maintenance of those units.
And that was
And
how
they
big
gave
they
us
are.
the entire owner's manual, which actually I found to be quite interesting because I didn't realize that there was two different, there's 3 total now. I only knew of 2, so I learned something else myself when I read that yesterday. So that's what that was all about. And Counselor, do you need
Okay,
to
we-
be present for?
We need a motion, so you can decide that offline.
Make,
Make a motion to go into executive session. Anyone like to second that?
Second.
Second by Jim. Thanks very much. If you'll just put that on pause while we go into executive session. Welcome back to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission's meeting of July 24th. We just came out of executive session, and there's no action necessary or being asked of the commission. And at this time, I'd like to go back into our regular session at 9:20 p.m. And seeing that there is no other business, ask the commissioners for a motion to adjourn. Rick, so moved. Second by Drew. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? None. Abstain? None. Unanimous. We're a motion to adjourn. Thank you.